Hello, good evening. Welcome to Vintage Key Studio. My name is Tony Dolce, otherwise known as Dulcitone to my close friends. I want to give a shout out to our Vintage Key Masters and also to the man in Sainsbury's who always says hello when he sees me. Hello, man in Sainsbury's, and your dad as well. Today we're going to be looking at the sample library that I created with a guy called Sam. Now, I was hoping his last name was going to be Plur, but unfortunately it wasn't. This Sam runs a company called Frozen Plain. They make atmospheric and sort of sound designy type instruments on a streamlined sample-based music platform player called Flow, F-L-O-E. And it's a little bit different to some of the other sorts of players around in that you've got almost complete, well, I think you have not almost, you've got complete control over everything. So you can alter stuff, you can change, you know, you've got loads of effects on there: distortion, bit crush, compressor, filter, stereo widen, chorus, reverb, delay, control reverb, phaser, etc. But you've also got, you can go in and you can alter the envelopes of the sounds, and you can loop stuff and do all sorts of things. But anyway, first things first, I was approached by Sam Plur from Frozen Plain, and he said he'd like to do a instrument for his thing based on our Dulcitone that we've got here. Now you may have watched our Dulcitone video, which is here to watch if you want to watch it. The Dulcitone is an instrument which is a bit like a sort of a Celesta or music box type sound. Has lots of metal sort of bars in it, and they're struck by hammers that you play from a piano. So we've got one here, and it was made in about 1905, give or take a few years. Ours is a full-size one with 5 octaves on it. And Sam said to me, will you sample this thing, and you need to record 8 notes, for 8 samples per note. So I think I did 5 long samples, or maybe, no, I think it was more than that. I think it might have been 8 long samples per note, and then 8 short samples per note. And it took about 50 hours. I've got the sounds up on this Mordio keyboard here. So I'll just play you one of the things you could hear. So that was one sample there. And then it changes to a different one. In fact, if I play this A, you might be able to hear, you can hear birds in the background because I had the door open at the time. And I think somewhere in amongst all this, because it took me so long to sample the whole keyboard, it was, I mean, it's very, very boring work. You just sit there playing, you know, let that ring on for sort of 10 seconds or something. And then you have to do another one. Imagine doing that upper keyboard. I don't know how many notes it was, 61 notes or something. So there might actually be the sound of me snoring, because I did fall asleep during doing it, actually fall asleep. But I was woken up by a hornet, so that was okay. Sam's done a great job. He's layered up that the samples are played like I think it's known as round robin, where it's sort of like, that's one sample, then there's a different sample, and it kind of, I'm not sure if it randomly plays through them. So basically it's not just playing the same sample over and over again, so it doesn't sound fake, you know. So if I play something you know, melodious, And I think that's a pretty good. Oh, you can also hear the off note as well. Oh, I think that was a bit of hornet. Now it may have sounded like somebody, not me, breaking wind, but it wasn't. It was a hornet flying around in the studio. And I'm quite pleased that's come on. So anyway, so there's the sound of birds on it. There's the sound of hornets on it. But the interesting thing about this, which I don't think anyone else has done in sampling one of these instruments, is I actually did like a kind of prepared dulcitone. So I hit it with various different things, like a screwdriver and a plastic thing and some other stuff. So if I just play you, so this is the normal dulcitone sound, and then I'll just see what I did here. There's a few presets here done by Sam. So this one, percussive snaps. That's me hitting the dulcitone tone bars with, I think, a long stick of wood that I found outside, or I think it is. Might be, or it might be a screwdriver, but it sounds more like a bit of wood. And then, so that's there, and then we've got augmented basses. That's an interesting one. Okay, and then we have I think this one might be the screwdrivers. Oh no, it says here rubber mallets. Okay, so anyway, so that's that one. Dulcitone trio is, it says here, simulating 3 dulcitones with woozy effects on the macros. It's quite interesting. So that's almost like getting more like a kind of a 70s funky Fender Rhodesy type sort of sound. That's good. And then we've got that there. We've got this one here. Magical Glimmers is really, really interesting, because this is one where there's some changes in the envelope and in the actual part of the sample that's used. So if I just play one note. You can see that is going mental there, and then this one is sort of just going along here, and there's like an interesting envelope there. So you can change the envelopes. If I put it back to there, it has a start to a note, but you can change that, and you can also change the you can hear that moving backwards and forwards there. And then I'm going to save that one. Save preset. Oh. Tone. Unpredictable Jimmy Smith. Save it there. So you can hear that doesn't really sound anything like a Dulcitone at all. It's quite nice that you can sort of just go into it and just completely stretch it and muck about with the sounds. It's got some nice effects in this Flow as well. Flow, by the way, is a free player, and according to the website, you can actually create all your own samples and things on it and do your own editing and things as well, which is something I haven't as yet had a chance to do because I've been so busy with everything. But I'm getting, well, no, I'm not getting less busy, I'm getting more busy, but I've got quite a bit more free time to have a play around with this coming up. So I'm going to see if I can come up with some interesting sound sets and maybe even make them available to people here. You never know. One thing I'd really like to do is to sample some of the like rarer instruments in this room, like the Lowry and stuff like that. Well, that could take about 10 years doing that. So anyway, here we are with the Dulcitone, and I think you'll agree that it's a pretty good recreation of the original instrument. There's all sorts of possibilities with what you can do with the sounds. Like something off of, I've been watching the film The Swimmer with Burt Lancaster lately. Well, in fact, I watched it once, but I've bought the LP of the record of the music by Marvin somebody or other. Hamlish. He wrote chorus line and something else. That reminds me of that. Anyway, perfect sounds for a composer of film scores or composer of anything. Maybe a composer of ringtones. Do they still do that anymore? I haven't really gone through any of the effects on this thing, but I'll leave that up to you to muck about with. But I just thought I'd give you a brief rundown of what we did with this and how nice it is. The Dulcitone from Frozen Plain, with a little bit of help from Vintage Key Studio. I hope you've enjoyed this video on the Dulcitone virtual instrument. It's a bit unusual for me to be doing something like this off of a computer, but seeing as it was something I did here, I thought it'd be interesting for you to see, and you might want to have a look at the guy's site as well and see if there's anything else on there that you like. He made a particularly interesting instrument out of a squeaky gate, which I quite like the idea of. So anyway, I'm very impressed with the thing. Well, I should say actually, before I sign off, he's made it so that the Dulcitone, it's not touch sensitive, so it's exactly the same as it would be. So it is like playing a real Dulcitone when you stick it on real Dulcitone. Anyway, so from me, Tony Dolce, or Dulcitone. It's good.